So CyberPunk is coming out soon. Jesus Christ. Mask fell off. So CyberPunk is coming out soon. One of the things the game has been promoting is all the different types of guns there are going to be. Now I really like making prop guns to put on sites like Etsy and whatever. So when they started releasing pictures of some of the guns that are going to be in CyberPunk, I was inspired by one picture in particular to make my own CyberPunk style gun. I just made it out of like a Nerf gun and random bits of other toy guns stuck together, a big paint job and whatnot. It turned out really cool, it was pretty cheap, and it was pretty dang easy. So today I'm going to show you how to do it. I got this cheap water pistol. I think I can turn this into a pretty cool looking CyberPunk gun, looking similar to the one I showed you before. Let's get right into the gun painting. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is take this bad boy apart. So if you want to make something like this, look for a gun that can be taken apart into lots of individual pieces. That way you can paint them all separately and put them back together and have a really good contrast of color. You won't have to worry about masking stuff off. Lots of cheap guns have really good molds because that's cheap to do. They just have crappy paint jobs, which is what makes them look bad. Now I wanted a better looking barrel on this thing, so I went to my box of random gun parts, which I'm sure everybody has one of these things, and then I used my Dremel to kind of carve out a bigger hole where it was going to fit into later. I also used my Dremel to sand down all the crappy legal information like made in China and all that. You don't need a Dremel for that, you could hand sand it. Once that was all done, it was time to PTP, prime those pieces. That's definitely an abbreviation I say all the time. You definitely have to prime with cheap guns. You don't know what the hell plastic it's made out of, you need to prime it. I did a few coats of the prime and let it dry for a good while. At this point you can choose to kidnap a small child, that's up to you, it's not essential. I decided which parts I wanted to be what colors, and then I started painting on those base colors. I chose yellow, black, and chrome. Then I started putting it back together. Now, as I was putting it back together, I was super gluing certain moving parts in place because I don't want them to move. This is just a cosplay prop, and any part that moves just is more risk for paint getting ripped away. I don't have to pay you for doing this for me, do I? You gonna do it for free? Oh, cool. I used hot glue to attach that barrel in, and then it was basically assembled. So I walked over to my shed and I got these little skull decal sticker things that I got from a dollar store. I think they're meant to put on like children's pencil cases or something, but they work really well for these kind of builds, so I stuck a couple of them on in certain strategic spots. Now before I do any of the weathering or anything like that, I put on a clear coat because I'm going to be quite heavy with the weathering and I don't want that to rub off any of the base colors I've already put on. Before I started doing the weathering, I decided to add some Asian written characters onto my gun. For some reason, Asian written like kanji symbols are quite linked to the cyberpunk culture. Now these aren't just any random symbols, only true gamers will recognize these symbols. If you recognize them, jump in the comments and let me know. Gamer for life. So now for the weathering, the first thing I do is I get silver spray paint, I spray a little bit out and I use just a tiny rag to kind of dab it onto the protruding areas of the gun, the areas that would be bumped around or getting hit as the gun was being used, or the areas that would be constantly touched by the person using it, little buttons or screws or anything like that. It's meant to look like where the paint has worn off and it shows the metal below. It looks the best on the black because there's a contrast between the silver and the black, but I also did it on all the yellow parts. I didn't do it on silver parts obviously because silver on silver, they're the same color. Then it was time for my favorite part, the black wash. Now I go very heavy on the black wash. You don't have to go as heavy as me. Basically just get black acrylic paint the whole thing black, and then rub off all the black and just leave the black in all the little nooks and crevices. Like I said, I go pretty hard on the dirtying black wash stage. This is up to you whether you do that or not, but I just think it looks cool, makes all the colors stand out against each other, gives that real kind of grimy, greasy look that I think goes well with the cyberpunk culture. Now despite all my clear coating and all that, there were still some parts of my paint that chipped. Now I discovered that in a very simple way by getting black acrylic and spotting it on quite heavy. It's kind of a lazy way to cover them up, but I think it kind of fits because it just looks like oil splatter or something, and voila, no more paint chips. Anyway, after another clear coat to protect it, the gun was done. So, here's how I turned a crappy $10 water pistol into a pretty dope looking cyberpunk prop. I was going to mess around with putting in some lights and stuff like that, but I thought I'd stop myself. I just wanted to keep this simple and show you how basically with just like a paint job and some parts from a doll store, you can make a crap gun look like a good gun. I do a lot of these crappy toy gun makeovers. Head over to my Instagram, you'll be able to see a whole bunch more of them. Anyway, thank you for watching.
Here, have this. Oh, now that's cool. Upside down, you gotta, oh, don't point it at me.